Hello and welcome to this week's GG Weekend Watch, where yes, we get to talk jumps racing finally because we have the return of Cheltenham this week, of course. Not forgetting though, top class flat action still to come, just the small matter of the Group 1 Vertem Futurity, as well as plenty of other group races at Newbury to look forward to as well. And I will be trawling through all 9 races with our regular team of Daryl Carter and Andrew Mount, who had a sparkling week last week. So just to reiterate, I'm going to go through their winners and tipped up selections that came in successfully as well, because we could be here for quite a while, because we had Emily Upjohn, who won at 3-1, tipped up by both Daryl and Andrew. We also had Insinuendo, who placed at 80-1, tipped off each way by Daryl, who had the first and third in that race. Therefore, Baybridge won at 10-1, tipped up by Andrew. Takarib Bay placed at 16-1 for Andrew. Gabriel the Devil won at 4-1, tipped up by Andrew as his nap. Tenebrism placed at 16-1 for Daryl. And just a small one, Shalia winning at 80-1, tipped up by Andrew on here, as well as in Andrew's column as well. So I think that's all of it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think I've gone through the entire list for now, but brilliant stuff, lads. But of course, it is safer gambling week. So just a reminder that for all that we talk about all of the lads' successes, as ever, please do remember to gamble responsibly. And we shall take that message through to look forward to this weekend's racing. And we begin at Newbury with the Group 3 Horace Hill Stakes for 2-year-olds over 7 furlongs at 150. Plenty of likeable types here who we don't know a whole lot about. So, Andrew, how do you sort these unexposed 2-year-olds?
Yeah, I don't think I can. It's a horrible race, isn't it? I mean, you look at just at the list of the last 10 winners, not one favourite among them. And this race is often run on sort of end of season soft or even heavy going, and these horses encountering it for the first time in cases. So I mean, looking at the going, I think they're calling it a good to soft in place of a more rain forecast. And if it's anything like my neck of the woods, then it's going to be very heavy, very much on the soft side come Saturday. So yeah, I was sort of scratching my head about this one. It's a bit early to play the get out of jail free card, but I'm going to have to play it. I haven't got a bloody clue. I'm really sorry.
Don't apologise. I've just read out that list of last week's winners. The last thing you or Daryl need to do this week is apologise for anything, to be honest with you. So get out of jail free card has been enlisted straight away for Andrew. Daryl, any stronger opinions?
Not really, to be honest. He doesn't have to tip another winner for God knows how long after here. Fair play. Well done, mate. Well done.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, Striking Star's being supported at the moment at the top of the market. He was it wasn't a strong race he won at Sandown on debut, but he did it quite comfortably. They didn't have any future entries for the horse at the time, so that's probably interesting. He wears a hood. I say it's interesting because Charlie Appleby normally likes to enter up his 2-year-olds for the following season quite early. They said that they've always liked him, but he must have been down the pecking order, I guess. But William Buick is here, so that's a positive sign for him. The horse I kind of liked. I did like Promoter for Ralph Beckett. He's same relation as the Yards, ill-fated, begins with S.
Ooh.
I can't remember it. It'll come to me in a minute. One at Newbury, one at Ascot. It'll come to me in a minute. But same connection, the same sort of family. He won on soft ground at Chepstow in really good style. I thought he would go close, but he ended up tomorrow. So he's of interest tomorrow. If you're seeing this tonight, Promoter tomorrow at Newbury. I thought Lord of Biscay would be the most interesting runner of the lot. One quite nicely at Yarmouth. Things didn't go all his own way, as opposed to Striking Star, who did have things go all his own way at Sandown. I thought Lord of Biscay quickened up really smartly, beat a nice horse in Oblix, who's come out and really won well, and looks a really smart type. He's a half brother to Bayside Boy, who appreciates soft ground. So I don't think the ground will be any sort of issue to him. I think he'll stay with the right yard. He's in good hands. So I, as a tentative selection, I would stick up Lord of Biscay.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So like say sort of tentative selection and Lord of Biscay. Scope was the horse. I
Scope.
was just thinking,
Thank
yeah,
you.
same colours, yeah, as promoted, like say the unfortunately ill-fated Scope died as a 4-year-old. But the outsider of field is promoted, but the main play would be Lord of Biscay, 11-2 then for him. And there's a horse in here who I like, and like you say, Andrew, sort of this race going to those at bigger prices rather than looking towards those ahead of the market. And I really like Knight in here because I was really taken by this lad on his debut. And that was at the time where the form of the owner, KHK Racing Limited, could hardly have been having a better time. And I flagged this lad up the day before when they had a winner say he was making his debut the next day for the Crisford. And he's just a really imposing, big, good-looking type. And he was impressive winning that Yarmouth Newcomers maiden. And there was plenty of the right connections then within that race, all of the right pedigrees lining up. But as I always say, don't underestimate Yarmouth Maiden or Novice Form. We see Charlie Appleby using it to good effect time and time again. I mean, the form of that race has worked out terribly, but
the third in that Yarmouth race, Rajasthan, who was 6-4 favourite at the Golston Runner, hasn't raced since, but is running in the 125 at Newbury on Friday. So there's a chance for the form to be boosted. I mean, that one was favourite, beaten almost 6 lengths. So yeah, if that one comes out and wins, then you might be barking up the right tree there.
oh, wonderful once in my life. That would be all right then, because it needs a form boost. It really does, because it's been very weak so far, the way that form has worked out. But I was just hugely taken by Knight. Of course, this is a huge step up for him, but he's proven over 7 furlongs. Hardly out of his depth here in terms of experience against these rivals. Remains a fair price at 17-2. So it is Knight for me. Right, we're going jumping next. It's a 205 at Cheltenham. This is a handicap chase for 4-year-olds and over 3 mile 1. Gordon Elliott has 2 being sent over for this, but not the favourite though, which is the Hollow Ginge at 9-2. So Daryl, who wins this?
Yeah, I think the Hollow Ginge is I mean, you don't want to say a good thing on Safer Gambling Week, but I think he's as close to it on this card, if I'm being honest. He was second in this race last year off £10 higher. He's much obviously better off at the weights. I think this would just have been the target for him. He's a 9-year-old now, and he's representing a yard that used to run Coggery in this race every single year and target him, get him fit, fresh first time up, and throw him at this race. Coggery's obviously retired now, but the Hollow Ginge, I think he's going to have been targeted at this particular race. He's got a fantastic record fresh. I did the speed figure earlier this year on that particular race and made note of it. The fact that they went pretty steady early on, and he was at the rear of the field, so he was unsuited by the way the race panned out. But the final circuit was actually faster than the 2 mile handicap chase winner, who runs later on in the card, and I mentioned him there because I'm against him today for that reason. But the Hollow Ginge ran the final circuit faster than the 2 mile chase winner that day, and with a bit of weight off his back this time around, I think he's got to go very, very close. I just thought last year, I thought he idled coming up the hill, because when Definite Plan came to him, he sort of went again, and I like that about him. You know what? I even think 7-2 at the top of the market is a fair price. I would be backing him at anything around 5-2 or bigger. For me, I like a few horses in here. Obviously, Tullybeg is a nice horse. A lot of people latch onto him with Davy Russell on his back. Captain Catastop's 2 for 2 at Cheltenham, but it's all come on the new course. I'm just wondering if this old course just might be a bit sharp for him first time up. He's a lovely horse. I'd definitely keep an eye on him going forward, maybe for the November meeting. The Wolf as well and Cursorina, both horses that have got handicaps in them down the line. So I think this is going to be a good race to follow. But I think you're going to need to be really well handicapped to win it. And for those reasons, I think the Hollow Ginge will take a bit of beating.
Yeah, so the best handicapped horse in the race at this time of the year, then the Hollow Ginge, a fair price at 7-2, then for Daryl, but like you say, definitely a race to pay good attention to then for potentially further down the line. So Daryl is with the Hollow Ginge quite confidently, Andrew. How about you?
Yeah, very much so. I tipped him in Racing and Football Outlook on Monday. I put him up in my GG column on Tuesday as a bet. The 3 firms who priced up at the time were 8-1, 10-1, and 12-1. Now, I don't like betting each way anti-post because if they don't run, you're doing your money twice. I'd rather back them win at the bigger price and then have a sort of top up each way on the day. That was the intention with the Hollow Ginge, thinking I'll because of that tendency to perhaps be a bit of a thinker at the business end and maybe finish second when he should win races. I thought, he'll be sort of 6-1 plus on the day. We can back him each way again. But 7-2 and getting shorter as we speak. But you look at his record first time out, 2 wins, 2 seconds from 4 completed starts. He unseated at the first fence in the other one. But then next time out, which was effectively his seasonal debut, he was 4th at 50-1 to Cloth Cap, Eye Right, and the conditional in the Ladbroke Trophy Chase. So, fantastic record first time up. Again, if sort of in running tradings, your forte, you might want to put in to lay a few short prices, because don't be surprised if he comes there pulling an absolute double and then manages to get himself beat probably by a Gordon Elliott runner, as last year when he was second by a head to Definite Plan. Interesting that Elliott's got a couple in this Tully Beg and the one down the bottom, Motown Maggie. So I wouldn't sort of put you off, just if you can't get an each way price, maybe do the Hollow Ginge to finish exactly second, which is a bet some firms like Sky Bet offer, or to do some exactas with some of the principles to beat the Hollow Ginge into second.
Do you not think he went too early last year, Andrew? He sort of come around the bend after the third last, and then he was in front turning for home 2.
You could pick 6. You pick 6 of his races at random, you draw the same conclusion. I don't think he's quite all there between the ears. But if ideally you want to back him each way first time out and then forget about him for the rest of the season. But 7-2, probably shorter on the day. That each way is not looking so attractive now. But I guess with the exacta, with the some firms offering to finish exactly second, maybe that's what you want as a saver. Back him to win, but do take some insurance. So if he is second, you're not going to lose out.
That's it, the insurance angle then for him as well. Like you say, you don't want to put anyone away from backing him to win, because first time up, then fresh on the back of that 196-day layoff may well be the time to catch him. But because he is a bit of a thinker, potentially just that save then for Andrew to back him to finish second as well. So interesting takes on that opener. Well, the second race actually at Cheltenham then on Saturday. Right, we are back to Newbury for the 225. This is the Group 3 St. Simon Stakes. 4-3 odds and over a mile 4, and Hamish is the even money favourite here, but plenty of fan favourites as well in here. So Andrew, back to you please. Who wins?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the each way shape, it's a bit like Baid's race. Last week you've got to have a bet, but at the moment there's 8 runners with the chance of it perhaps turning heavy. That could lead to non-runners, and those 3 places become only 2 places. So that's sort of fraught with danger. I mean, I was against Hamish last time at Ascot. I thought the race would come too soon because all his wins tend to come off the back of a break. I thought he might need it. Sorry, I thought it might come too soon after that runner-up effort. So the time before, he absolutely hosed up and made me look foolish. But Lone Eagle is never lost on proper sort of soft or softer going. I think it was officially good to soft behind Alpinista in. When they met last time was at Saint-Cloud. But you look at the time of that race, they broke standard by about 4 seconds. So it was no doubt quicker than the official verdict, which is usually the way with French racing. So Lone Eagle was sort of nibbled at when the declarations came out, 13-2 into 5, solid enough each way. But I've bet 2. Max Vega at 20-1. See, that's shortened into 14s now. He's a spring autumn horse. He needs plenty of cut in the ground. It wasn't soft enough for him here at Newbury last time, although it was in his sort of the period when he runs well, September. It was quick ground. And Sky Cutter at 66-1. Again, a horse who's going to like the ground if it turns heavy, and one of those ones who runs on the flat over sort of 10 furlongs, 2 miles, seems to run exactly the same race, sort of staying on at the end, and might get third. So yeah, Max Vega over Sky Cutter. Hamish, he might win doing handsprings again, but I don't want to back him at 6-5 on to find out.
Yeah, like I say, shortening the whole while, isn't he? Rather than Max Vega 14-1, Sky Cutter, the outsider of the field, at 66-1 to take on the now odds-on favourite in Hamish, or Hamish, Daryl, as you were previously pronouncing him. Have you come back around to our way of pronunciation of his name yet, or are you not even siding with him?
Nah, Hamish. No, I'm not gonna side with him, and the reason being is very similar to Andrew. I thought this is a horse that's sort of best between 29 and 56 days off the track when he's had a fair. I mean, his record suggests that he's won 75% of his races between 29 and 56 days, and 66% of his races on 57 days or further or more. So look, he surprised me a little bit. He didn't surprise me at Ascot in the fact that he won. He surprised me that when he hit the front, he didn't find as much as I thought he would. He was well positioned in the race. It was no more than steadily run. It wasn't a brutally run affair or anything like that. And he's travelled through it really strongly. I just didn't think he found too much off of the bridle. He's beaten Cresta, who's come from an unpromising position by 1.25 lengths, and I don't know. There was just something in it for me. Maybe he did have a hard race at the Curragh behind Kyprios, and maybe it did catch up with him, but his class got him through at Ascot, and this is now another 21 days later. I could be completely overthinking this, and people are sitting there thinking just Hamish just wins, but I thought it was worth taking a chance. And if he does underperform, this is wide open. So I looked at Galway at 33s. I put this horse up for the listed race at Yarmouth last time, and she was beaten by Perfect Alibi. But I thought William Buick gave this horse one of his very rare poor rides when held up at the rear of the field, and she finished that race with plenty of running left. He tucked her inside, and she had to weave in and out through horses when she should have really come down the outside, I thought, and got one big run at Perfect Alibi. But Perfect Alibi's obviously got a few bits and pieces of form in the hundreds, and this horse for me is just never. I mean, I don't for 1 minute think that she's going to beat Hamish, but she could run into a place given the way that the others come into this race off the back of poor runs. Really, she's never been sort of beaten and faded away. She's always staying on. She either hasn't had the pace to challenge, or she's been coming too late. I just wonder if this turns into a bit of a test. Would it suit her? And I think it would, dropping back in trip. So I'm going to hope that she hits the frame at 33-1, and hope all 8 stand their ground.
Yeah, like you say, hopefully that all 8 do still stick around then, and we have the 3 places on offer, because 33-1 then for that filly looks a very fair price with a percentage take up of the market of Hamish then at the head of it. But both of the lads then keen to take him on should he underperform in this contest. Right, we have a fascinating race up now in the Mastertons. Holdings hurdle for 4-year-olds over 2 miles at 2:40 back at Cheltenham. Just before going into this, I just wanted to touch on the ground. Should have done this prior to our first race we talked about at Cheltenham, because the going has been currently listed as good to firm, good in places. Of course, we record this at 2 p.m. on Thursday. We have racing at Cheltenham tomorrow, so we'll get a much better feel of it for Saturday tomorrow. But it's been very vague, the information we've been getting from the clerk of the course, because they've said 10 millimetres of rain overnight Sunday, dry Monday and Tuesday, drying Wednesday, strong winds. Thursday was unsettled in the morning with some light showers. I live 15 minutes away from the race course. There was no light in those showers last night or this morning. I promise you, it was heavy, heavy rain. And unless they have their own microclimate, it was a lot of rain they had going down. But
that's the problem. I think they do, don't they? The rain shadow at Cheltenham, you can be sort of like a couple of miles away and just be completely different. It's a bizarre old place.
Yeah, it definitely does have its own microclimate. But yeah, when they've started saying light showers, I don't know. And then they're just saying watering in progress, selective watering to continue. But from what I'm hearing from the track, expect pretty quick. Don't expect the rain to have got in there all that much anyway. So that's what I've sort of based a lot of this on, is that I don't think we're really going to I don't think watering has been excessive by any means from what I have heard. So the 240 though, we only have the 5 declared runners, but we get Night Salute versus Pied Piper yet again after their controversial grade 1 4-year-old hurdle battle at Aintree, where Night Salute was awarded the race after outright after they had dead heated originally. So Daryl, does that form uphold? Will it be reversed? Do you like something else?
Pied Piper just wins. Like, I don't understand why everyone gets so excited over Night Salute, really. Like, Pied Piper was over the top at Aintree. He was prepped for the Triumph, along with Phil Daw, to be at their absolute maximum in the Triumph. They went to Aintree as a bit of an afterthought, and Night Salute still couldn't beat him, really. Like, for me, Night Salute's a horse that's he's what I'd call a small track fast horse, where he likes tracks like Kempton. I meis his win here, I know he's won at Cheltenham at grade 2 last year, but that form of that, my God, it's absolutely bloody awful. You go through that, it's shocking. And you look what happened to him when he was up against a proper pace and a proper test, proper championship pace at Cheltenham. He was left well behind. Like, I really don't understand this this buzz about this horse. Like, he picked up some good races last year. I tipped him out a few times to win. Like, he picked up some decent races, but he's not better than Pied Piper. Pied Piper should be an odds-on shot for this. He's got to give £8 to Dr. Parnassus, who was back in 5th or 6th in the or 7th in the Triumph. That horse is just not as quick as him. It's as simple as that. Speed Figure Taylor, Dr. Parnassus is just not as quick as Pied Piper. Now, unless he's considerably improved over the winter, then he might get a little bit closer. But for me, God, this should be an odds-on shot. This is not like a big matchup between Knight Salute and Pied Piper. Pied Piper should just win.
Yeah, I am in total agreement. And sorry, Andrew, I have to cut in there soon because I mean, when I saw he was 6-4, I made him my nap of this show earlier on. I mean, he has now shortened up because I think people have suddenly realised and cottoned on that was too big a price. Because like you say, I don't think there's any matchup here whatsoever. It's all Pied Piper for me as well. Cheltenham sees him to a best effect. We know he's absolutely fine on a fast surface, being a son of New Approach. And I just think Knight Salute is a better on a flat track for all. As you say, he is a Grade 2 winner at Cheltenham, but I totally agree with you, Daryl. That was a really, really weak race. And then he was well beaten in the Triumph Hurdle itself before a much better run at Aintree, where he did get a fair bump, admittedly. But like I say, it was pretty much an afterthought for Pied Piper then. But back at Cheltenham, sound surface, run on the flat since that Aintree contest when running a solid race in the Ascot Stakes behind Coltrane at Royal Ascot. Pardon?
Brilliant run that was, wasn't it?
Yeah, wasn't it? Blinding run. It continues to work out well as well, doesn't it? So yeah, I mean, all factors are there to side with Pied Piper, who probably is still a fair price, all that he's shortening. So yeah, Pied Piper for both of us. Andrew, who do you like?
A fascinating one, this, and it was one where I was thinking probably not going to have a bet, but I mean, looking through it, I think you're a bit harsh to dismiss Knight Salute so readily. I know he was only 9th in the Triumph Hurdle, but he has won at Sedgefield, he has won here at Cheltenham. So in terms of the track, it's probably more to do with Paddy Brennan going around the inside and sticking to that like glue, when Vauban and every hurdle winner that day challenged pretty much down the stand side rails.
Have you looked at that? Have you looked at that juvenile Cheltenham run? But Magistrato was in there, was 6-4 favourite. He finished 4th. He was rated 131 at the time. They've now given him a rating of 119 as he goes over fences.
But
like,
I think
your team for Gary Moore was 3rd.
Yeah, saying that the track doesn't have find him out was my point. Not that the form of that was no good, which I completely
yeah, but surely that would play together, wouldn't it? Surely you can get away surely you can get away with it against lesser opposition on a track. Doesn't mean that it suits you at the highest level, surely.
Well, you're basing the fact he doesn't handle the track on one run in the Triumph Hurdle, when clearly he was. The fact that he's
no. I didn't say he didn't handle the track. I was saying that he is it's been suggest that
if you could choose the track, you go in Canton or Kempton and a sharp track, fair enough. But in terms of, I mean, it's tricky, this race. I mean, obviously he's dead heated with Pied Piper at Aintree and got the race in the steward's room. I don't buy that Pied Piper was over the top, running like that in Grade 1 company. I think if he was over the top, he'd have probably been beaten further. But I mean, I guess if you do want to take on Knight Salute, probably the way to do it is to do the Pied Piper Dr. Parnassus forecast, because obviously Dr. Parnassus finished in front of Knight Salute at Cheltenham in the Triumph, although that one did take the wide route, and didn't take the wide route when he had the chance to. Dan Skelton switched him back towards the inside and then sort of fannied about a bit, and probably should have been closer than he was. I mean, there's no pace in this race really either. That's another thing as well. Pied Piper can take a keen hold, as can Knight Salute, and both are, ideally served by a sort of, a strong pace. Probably not going to get it. Dr. Parnassus comes from off the pace. Bella Scintillo's only had one run for Joseph O'Brien, winning a maiden hurdle. Did actually get a good speed figure according to top speed figures. Could be anything. I mean, if I was going to have a bet in the race, I'd just, chuck a couple of quid on Bella Scintillo, just in the hope they let this one dawdle in front and, she gets some soft leads. Sawbuck I didn't like, but I didn't like the race, to be honest. It's fascinating to watch, with a view to what's going to happen for the rest of the season. But for the purpose of this video, I'll just go Bella Scintilla without being very confident at all.
Bella Scintilla then 11-1. And aren't you happy the Jumps is back? This is what Jumps Talk creates. Spicy races with Daryl and I super bullish then about Pied Piper. Andrew offering the alternatives. There's no other sport that offers as varied opinions that you can back up as well. So, welcome back the Jumps. But
what do you, just out of curiosity, what do you two think they'll do with Pied Piper this season as a 4-year-old? Think the champion? Where do you think they go? Champion? They take a stab at the champion hurdle, or?
Yeah, I think so, to be honest with you. I think he is going to be better over further. It's just that awkward middle ground, isn't it, for your 4-year-old? They said he's going to stick over hurdles from at least now anyway, rather than going over fences with him, such as the firepower that they have in that division anyway. And so I think that they are going to try and turn him into that. But yeah, it's whether or not he has the pace for it down the line, I think remains to be seen.
He's got no chance, but I'm just curious to see where he'll go. Maybe it could be one to pick up a few grade twos, although we are talking about 4-year-olds that do sometimes tend to not train on the following year. That's another factor for me. I thought he had more scope than Noit Salute did last year. So yeah, you'd hope that he would come on a bit, but
yeah, that's the thing. I think he is for me this season, I think he's going to be stuck in the Zanahir camp basically, where obviously for Gordon Elliott then as well, where he just sort of found a bit that real sort of tricky middle ground then and kept hurdles and was one that looks like he's going to get further. But yeah, I think that this is just a season to pick up prizes such as this basically for him. Don't give him the chance then in the big one itself. But yeah, I think he's Zanahir for this season for me anyway, this lad. But at least he can pick up this on his way to that. Right, we're heading to Doncaster now for the listed Doncaster stakes. 4 2-year-olds over 6 furlongs at 3 o'clock. Who wins this 2-year-old contest for you, Andrew?
Yeah, just mention the safer gambling front. I've just backed Family Pot who's won at Ludlow. I've immediately got an email from Corals or a message from Corals saying, "Oh, Kingston so and so is well fancied in the 255. Why don't you back that?" Well, I don't bloody want to. So,
really? Oh.
Yeah. What do you mean well fancied? You know, how have you laid this? How much have you laid it for? Is it well fancied? Is the trainer backed it with your firm as the owner? Goodness me, what a load of nonsense. Right. So yeah, the 3 o'clock. Aesop's Fables bombed out in the Dewhurst. Couldn't go the early pace. Dropped back. Finished 4th, beat 7.5 lengths as a 5-1 shot. Quite a step back in class now, isn't it? Listed company back to 6 furlongs. Yeah, not for me at the price. It seems they were very disappointed with that run, and it might just might be a case of crikey, what do we do with this one now? Bresson wears the blinkers for the first time. Daryl and I tipped Emily Upjohn first time hood for the Goslings last year, but first time blinkers not so good at all. I mean, looking at the last 10 years, 31 from 189, 16%, minus £63.64 to a £1 level stake. Hispanic's a funny one. He went into my tracker after that debut effort when he finished 3rd against the pace buyers. That was at Nace. You had to be on the front end that day. He was the best of those to come from off the pace. I think I wrote him up in the GG.CO.UK catches column. Bet him next time. He's finished 4th, beating almost 8 lengths. That was 6 furlongs on soft. They've dropped him back to 5, whacked on the first time blinkers, and they didn't see which way he went. He won by 8 lengths. Now, the worry is he's back up in trips, softer ground, Doncaster, the round course, each front runner's alive. The straight course, not so bad, but still, they sometimes go for home too early and set it up for the closers. And horses in this race who prepped over 5.5 furlongs got a terrible record. So that's against Hispanic, also against El Dasim. Otherwise, he'd be interesting given George Bowie's excellent record with last time out winners making a quick return to action. So you look for a hell of a lot of these are sort of stepping up from 5, which has been a graveyard for punters in this race this century, let alone the last 10 years. So I'm sort of I deserted Al Dazim and Hispanic in favour of Legend of Xanadu, just really on the Mick Shannon soft ground autumn stats and the fact that he should get the trip. He's coming back from 7 furlongs. Maybe he's going to prove better around a turn. He won at Epsom earlier in the season, but I'll just take a tentative each way stab at Legend of Xanadu. And another race where if I had 3 get out of jail cards, I'd play more.
To be fair, back end of the season 2-year-old races, yeah. But Legend of Xanadu, 33-1 then for those Mick Shannon stats for Andrew. Daryl, any stronger convictions?
No stronger convictions at all, really. I don't know. I don't know about ASAP Fail. I don't know what's going on. I tipped him when he won at the Curragh, and then went to the national stakes on soft ground. I didn't think it was the ground that was the issue that day. I just didn't think he was good enough. It wasn't good enough, and then that was proven to be the case in the Dewhurst. This is obviously a big drop in grade, but I mean, you're braver than me to take even money, really. I didn't like the race at all. I would throw a speculative couple of quid each way at the outside of the entire field, which is Sophia's Starlight, simply because it was a promising debut at Newcastle, coming from off the pace when it was not run to suit someone, a horse coming from well off the pace. It was slowly run, but she stuck to the task really well. It looked like she was going to improve again next time. But this is obviously a huge step up in grade, and maybe a grant to her has seen the race the same as we've seen it and thought we'd just try our luck, because it's just shambles, really, isn't it? I mean, in terms of trying to work out who's going to win, I couldn't work it out. So I thought I'd have a couple of quid at Sophia's Starlight as a betting interest, but keep my money in my pocket for later on in the day.
Responsible gambling. There you go. This is the message just echoed by the lads in this 3 o'clock at Doncaster. Nasty race, that listed contest. Hopefully the next one will be better. Back at Cheltenham now for another handicap chase for 4-year-olds and over 2 miles at 3:15, where Clear the Runway bids to continue his winning sequence. So Daryl, can Laura Morgan's runner do exactly that?
Oh, I mean, oh my God! I mean, no offense to Laura, right? But this is the season proper started now, and although this horse has been progressive all year, but the horse has been picking up Mickey Mouse races. She's placed this horse really, really well. But a mark of 142 now at the start of the season is like really stiff. Like, if the horse is winning this, then you've got to be asking yourself why is the horse not being plotted for something at the November meeting, a huge pot, one of those big handicaps. Winning off 142 would put this horse in a bracket of 150? No, not for me. I couldn't back that horse at 3-1, not with your money. I thought Editor the Geek was going to need the run. I remember watching the last 2 seasons, and Ascot, he shaped like he desperately needed the run. He just faded, did too much too soon, and it's interesting that Niall Houlihan's been put up. Again, all due respect to Niall, who has won on him before, but I think he's going to need the run. So I think they'll probably have a target with him now. He's on a mark where you're sort of looking at him thinking, right, if we play our cards right here, then we could be down to something like 145 come the spring, and have a look at a target there. So for me, I think he'd be needing the run. Not only that, he's got so much pace pressure in here that I think it will be detrimental to his chances. Ethanol Fizz is one of the others that could make the run-in back over fences today, but she was rated £18 lower over fences before her latest win. She's run off a hurdle mark of 133. So for me, like, she's got questions to ask now, especially with pace pressure for the lead. Dad's Lad is interesting for Willie Mullins, but again, this horse who has got a good record now over fences, but it's another one that's been really well placed by Willie over in Ireland. Could have a bit more to offer, but it doesn't scream to you like this is one of their leading lights or anything like that. It could be well placement again, so he's got a chance, I'd say. I was going to take a chance on the Widowmaker for Joe Tizard, simply on the basis of he's got a good record fresh. He can be a bit of a lunatic. He can lead, but he also can be held up. And I think you've got 2 horses in here, like Ethanol Fizz and Editor the Geek, that both look to tear away. It's not just leading, they look to go and get on with it. And I think he'll be happy just to sit in and take a pull, Brendan Powell, on this horse, but be prominent. I think coming back to 2 miles is a real positive for him. I thought he ran a blinder at entry in the Grade 1 won by Miller's Bank in the manifesto. I thought he travelled there looking like the winner until he sort of fell in a hole a little bit. Considering, the horse has only had a couple of starts over fences, only went over fences in February and threw him in a Grade 1 at April, I thought that was quite eye-catching. He was really progressive last year. He won really well at Exeter when I was there. He looked like a bit of a powerhouse. Slight concern with him is obviously it's first time up, but I think I think there's more to come from him this season over fences. So he would be my play in the race. Just I might as well touch on the other two quickly because I've done the rest. El Baracho, he's a lovely improving horse. It was just a bit of a sign to me last time at Wetherby. He sweated up quite badly, and he wasn't jumping his usual self as he had been earlier in the year. He sort of spring-heeled over his fences. He wasn't doing that at Wetherby, and I'm just wondering if sort of the 8 runs have sort of caught up with him a little bit over the summer, and now he's stepping up into a deeper race. And Poseidon, I tried making a case for him because it's interesting, a Gordon Elliott, Jack Kennedy outsider, but I really couldn't. I really couldn't. So I was just going to hope that a Widowmaker would at least hit the frame here, or at least be in the first 2. So it'd be the way I'm going to go 8-1. I think it's a fair price.
Yeah, they say 8-1 then for the Widowmaker, provided that he's hopefully fit enough then on the back of that 198-day break. But good, well, just a good rundown of that entire race, to be honest with you, going through those horses there, the chances and taking chances away from those at the head of the market. So solid assessment, Daryl. Andrew, do you agree with a lot of those sentiments, or where are you looking?
Yeah, it's you first look at this race, you think it's basically the front runners champion chase, because not only are they front runners, they tend to be, described as made running at fast pace, made all at fast pace. So, Daryl's touched on the likes of F Not Fear's editor De Geet, the ones who can make the running, but also are quite happy just sat off the pace, clear the runway. El Baracho, I thought, were the 2 most likely. Dad's Lads was one I was thinking of taking on. Very, very rare for Willie Mullins to have a Cheltenham runner outside of the festival. Now, my database goes back to 1997, so 25 years. He's had 57, 6 winners, minus £29.60 to £1 level stake. In that 25-year period, he's never had a runner at the Cheltenham October meetings. Which is quite interesting. So I'm thinking, were he any good, he'd probably be running in Ireland and not shipped over to take on the Mickey Mouse British runners. So he's 5s into 4s, but given his overall stats out at Cheltenham outside of the festival, I'm happy to take him on. Editor De Geet, he's been backed as well, 5s into 7-2. The top weight, is he going to sulk if he gets taken on? Will it be quick enough to get to him? I would imagine. You know what's going to happen here. On paper it looks like 3 or 4 are going to line up, alongside each other and go like the clappers. In reality, all the jockeys will be looking at each other thinking, well, I don't want to sort of like cut my horse's throat by taking you on, so I'll sit behind you. And one of them's going to get a soft lead and end up making all. Which makes it even harder to punt on. So I'm going to go clear the runway. I love Laura Morgan as a trainer of chasers. You back every single chase runner she's ever had, and you'd made a profit of £122.75. And I just think, given the shape of the race, the fact that you can just sit and be behind what, on paper at least, is going to be a strong pace, jumps soundly. Yeah, I thought he could be the one. I'll probably do I love El Baracho. He's got a good attitude. Again, at Warwick last time, I think he set off in front and was then happy to take a lead, and then still won going away. So I'll probably do the clear the runway El Baracho, reverse exacta kind of thing for the price of a pint, which is £7 if you're ever drinking in London like I was last Saturday. Horrendous. I paid for a pint and a half of Guinness with a £10 note, and they said £10.50, please. Pint and a half.
You are joking.
Yeah.
What is happening in the world? My God, you never go there again, Andrew.
Well, it'll probably be 11 quid next week.
Yeah, exactly. To be fair, the way that the country is going after the news this morning, it may well be, but don't leave the Shire ever again then, Andrew.
Clear the runway over El Baracho. But couldn't be confident. I'll be fascinated to see how they go in the early stages, whether there is a 3 or 4-way battle for the early lead.
Yeah, and exacta there for those Mickey Mouse British runners as well then for forecast for Andrew. We've cleared the runway from El Baracho. Top and tailing the market. Right, it is Group 1 action up now in the form of the Vertem Futurity Trophy Stakes for 2-year-olds over a mile at 3:35 back at Doncaster, where August Rodin is a strong favourite at 11-10. So, Andrew, is he worth taking on at that price, even with Aidan O'Brien's record in this Group 1?
Tricky one, isn't it? I mean, he has got a good record in the race, but you wouldn't make money back in the blind. And he's also had 3 runs, which does not fit the profile of previous O'Brien runners in this race. I think he's like 0 from 13 with those that have had 3 or more previous outings. So yeah, not for me. I'll be more interested in sort of throwing a few quid at something each way. I'm fascinated to see the money for King of Steel, the Ammo Racing runner who won so well at Nottingham. Now, I back all the Ammo Racing newcomers. I mean, they had one at Newmarket yesterday, Mama's Girls, 6s into 3s. Now, this one trained by David Lockney. You look at the ones David Lockney's had previously. The winners were all sort of 3 to 1 or shorter. And when King of Steel drifted out, went the other way in the betting, I thought, well, this one won't be winning. Obviously, it needed the run, so I'm not going to bet this one. And what happens? Absolutely hoses up, albeit under a prominent ride, which is what you need on the round course at Nottingham when it's on the soft side. But the fact that he was entered in this race. I think you were on William Hill Radio at the time.
I was.
Was it John Babb you were talking to about this? That he was. Or I can't remember. But your fellow pundit, you were sort of saying, you were saying, well, he's still in the Vertem Futurity, and so he obviously, has come out of that race well, and was impressive. Didn't have a hard race, only 10 days to get over it. But I just take a chance with him. So, so taken was I by that performance, albeit in a lower grade race. The other one I thought you could back each way was Fantastic Spuds, or Epic Taters, as they call it. And
Epic Taters.
I mean, that was a solid enough effort last time out. I know he got Jim, but it was a neck, wasn't it, in group company in a race that's already started to work out pretty well. So yeah, and Epic Taters, King of Steel, at the prices, I'll just go King of Steel. But it's another fascinating race.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I am so with you with King of Steel again. I'm just sort of being biased here because I was on the radio that day and I sided with him because it looked a pretty open maiden. And I always try and side with experience where possible, but he was fascinating. The fact he had this Futurity entry as well. And all he did was drift before the off. Soon as he broke from the stalls, I realized why he drifted before the off, because he is the size of a house. He is the biggest 2-year-old. I think Alan Kirby said that he's the biggest 2-year-old he's ever sat on. He's over 17 hands. So you can understand why people saw him in the paddock, thought, he's not going to be winning first time up. Powered through the race. Brilliant. Loved him. And now he's being backed. He's going the opposite way in the market this time around. So yeah, King of Steel each way for me as well. Daryl, are you jumping on this bandwagon or where are you looking?
No, I have no idea. I couldn't make heads or tails of it, to be honest. It wouldn't surprise me if Augustus rode and won, but I thought he ran really well on its debut at the Curragh, and then I thought he sort of laboured and made hard work of it second time out at Naas, and then sort of same bothered me about the juvenile Group 2 win last time is that the second Caroline Street travelled through the race really strongly. Actually travelled through the race like the best horse in the race, but then just didn't catch Augustus Ruston towards the finish. I mean, I think he's ahead of. If I'm right in saying he's at the top of the market for the Derby and the Guineas, yes. And yeah, I mean, I don't know about that really for me, but I think this is wide open, more wide open than the market suggests. But I couldn't come down. I gave them pretty much all equal chances, really, to an extent, But I couldn't. It was my get out of jail free card, Kate. I can't find anything.
At least you left it till later on in the show to use your get out of jail free card rather than first time up like Andrew. So yeah, at least we've got a bit further down the line for this one, but it is super, super tricky. Yeah, he is currently heading the anti-post market for the Derby. He does look very much a stayer, doesn't he, August Rodin? Anyway, but tricky Group 1 then to be assessing, as it tends to be. Back to Cheltenham, therefore, for a much easier race to solve. I'm sure of that, because as soon as you see in the jumping game, as soon as you just know it's back, don't you? When you see the word potence anywhere. But we have very different conditions, slightly different conditions then for our potence qualifiers this season. It's now down to the first 4. It used to be 8, was 6. Now it's down to the first 4 home to qualify for the final at the Cheltenham Festival in March. So basically, you have to try a little bit more this season if you want to get in. So Daryl, who wins this potence qualifier at 350?
Oh God, you want to watch the market in this because Charles Burns got one in here. Shoot first. You just want to keep an eye on the market, see what happens with this horse, because he's been quite interesting to watch over in Ireland. He ran no sort of race last time out at Listowel in just a Mickey Mouse handicap, but time before at Galway behind a horse that's now rated 137 over fences in Rock Road, he did really well to finish where he did. So he could be ahead of the handicapper off this mark, 129 plus Philip claims 7 off. Like, he's got to be well handicapped, really, if you think about it. So he's sort of I'm keeping an eye on him. But the three on my list, and Talier is a horse that I thought last season had a big handicap in him. He's done really well, just progressing. Over 3 miles, he's pretty unexposed. He went off favourite for one of these last year, the November meeting, and unseated very early on, 3-1 favourite.
Remind me.
Yeah, was you on that day? Was you?
The only time I've actually then backed him was the only time he didn't win and didn't complete.
But he's got to have a fantastic show. He's got a good record fresh as well. The other one was Did They Leave You Out Too? Now, I'll put this horse up at Chepstow for the Silver Trophy. He's finished 4th, beaten 3 lengths. But when I did the circuit times, compare with the race on the card, they for me, they didn't go hard enough for him. And then when he was coming down the home straight, he didn't really get a clear run at things. From 3 out to the finish, he's only finished a fraction slower than Napper's Hill. But from the back of the last to the line, he's finished quicker than Napper's Hill. So for me, the step back up in trip is going to be a positive, and perhaps we didn't see the best of him there. It's interesting that they've not run him on a track with a stiff uphill finish before, because even back at Newbury last year on his second start of the season, when he ran over 3 miles, he was staying on really strongly. All the tracks he seems to have gone to are quite tight tracks, and coming to a more galloping track with a stiff uphill finish, I think, could suit him, because as we know, Chepstow's downhill really from the top of the bend to the finish line, and I don't think that plays to his strengths over a trip of 2 mile free. So back up to 3 miles, I think keep him on your radar. Did They Leave You Out Too? And just the last one, just to mention them all really, is our Stillen. He's effectively racing off a mark of 129 here under Jack Hogan. That's £15 lower than when he was 6th in a Pertemps final in 2021. Fergal O'Brien likes to target this meeting with a lot of his horses, and I'd expect him to be cherry ripe first time up. The cheek pieces are on 259 days off the track, but he has gone well fresh before, and he likes it here at Cheltenham. So a big price, 25 to 1, but he was knocking on the door in some of these contests, deep contests last year, and with no avail. So could be a time to catch him first time up under this claimant jockey.
Yeah, so like I say, so Ashdale, and then 25 to 1, good case made for him. Did They Leave You Out Too? Love that horse. How can you not? 14 to 1 then for him as well. And but like I say, keep an eye on Shoot First, and for Charles Burns, pesky Charles Burns, coming over again, trying to steal all of our prizes, and may well be able to do so in this. Now, if I was a betting person, Andrew, lol, then I would have one main bet for who you're siding with in this. Can I guess?
Kansas City Chief.
Yes, I knew it.
Yeah.
I was going to say that.
Tipped him up when he won it last year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tricky finding the winners of these races, as we know. I mean, we've only had one favourite in the last 10 years. I mean, they've done well getting 18 runners for this one. I was hoping it was going to cut up a bit more because Kansas City Chief likes to go from the front. But 5 years ago, this race was worth getting on for £16,000. Now it's worth £13,000. Exactly the same as it was last year, and inflation's running at 10%. So. They've got away cheaply there, Cheltenham. I hope their beer prices are staying the same as well this year. But
they want to.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas City Chief is, officially trained by Oliver Sherwood, but you imagine it's the sort of, is it the jockey who's trained in this herself, and it's gone from Neil Moore. Yeah. So. And again,
so mum, is it her mum, Victoria Malzard's mum? Yeah, it was under the Jersey, didn't she?
It was under the Neil Mulholland flag when winning this last year. Rocked up for Oliver Sherwood at Wetherby the other week, and finished last at 5, but was sort of nibbled out in the betting. Went off 7 to 1. Only got beaten 6 and a bit lengths. And pre-race, I thought this is just a prep for another go at that Cheltenham Pertemps qualifier. And the way he ran, in need of the run, it would have blown away the cobwebs, still not being that far. I thought everything points to a very good run this time around. So just a shame there's 18 runners, given a horse who likes to dominate. But the jockey rode him well last year, and that she came more towards the near side rail, because was it the year before she was only 3rd in the race, and she blew it by going towards the inner when there was a bias to the outside. So she's obviously learnt a lesson there. Likes the track. And the thing is, she's trying to. The trainer and jockey owner are trying to win this race. They're not trying to finish 4th or 3rd with the view to getting in the Pertemps. And you look at the roll call of trainers who've won this race in recent years. It tends to be smaller yards. Deborah Hamer, certainly horses, James Evans. Henry Daly nowadays not numerically strong. Quite happy to pick up a sort of 13 grand Saturday race. Not worried about the weight the horse is going to get for the final at Cheltenham in 5 months' time. So yeah, Kansas City Chief is a 12-year-old, but will be trying. That's half the battle in these races, and should give you a run for your money around about 25 to 1.
Didn't even let me get my nap in then for that, Andrew, because my nap was that you were going to tip up Kansas City Chiefs in this race and beat me to it anyway, but at least it was confirmed. So yeah, Kansas City Chiefs, the old boy then to go in this race again. And our final race is back at Doncaster at 4:10, which is a 0 to 105 handicap for 3-year-olds and over 5 furlongs. So nice easy closer for you to solve, Andrew. So please do exactly that.
Yeah, I tipped Count Dorsey in Racing Football Outlook earlier this week. Ran an absolute blinder against the bias at Catterick last week when you had to be drawn high, typical Catterick soft ground. You look at that race won by Chipstead, who of course also beat Count Dorsey in the Portland Doncaster early in the season. Winner came out of 14. First 6 drawn 14, 11, 15, 9, 6, and 12. So 7 horse. It was bizarre because half an hour earlier in the 7 furlong handicap, they'd all come near side. It was blatantly obvious that you had to be down the near side. So it was surprising that as many as 7 of them went far side in Count Dorsey's race. Count Dorsey was, I think, sort of 2.5, 3 lengths clear of the next finisher on that side. And what was even more bizarre was he kept being heavily backed. He went off 4 to 1 second favourite, despite the fact that all evidence pointed to the fact that he couldn't possibly win from that draw. So, so he's placed in the last 2 Portlands, so he likes the track. He goes well on the ground. Stall 2, obviously I've only just seen the decks for this recently, so I'm not 100% sure about how that's going to pan out draw-wise, whether he's on the wrong side of the track or not, but we'll get some clues earlier in the day. But yeah, Count Dorsey around about 8 to 1 for me.
Perfect. Yeah, like I say, a fair pricing considering it was on the best part of the track there 7 days ago. 8 to 1 then for Count Dorsey for Andrew. Daryl, how would you play this?
Kim and Grace for me. I love the way the horse stretched out at York last time. I was trying to get a win out of this horse for ages. Kept putting it up, saying this is well handicapped, and but to no avail. Strange, isn't it? This sort of time of year, these fillies seem to really come to life in October, and she absolutely gotted up at York. I mean, Christ, she was going away again at the finish, and I thought it was a really, really impressive performance. I didn't think there was any sort of bias or pace bias that she was favoured by. I thought it was a good time. Ryan Moore now jumps on board. He's been on this horse a couple of times in the past for Richard Hughes. They've got a good strike rate when they team up. So yeah, stall 8's fine. Lullaby Bay did really well at Musselburgh last time behind Mackinac, but I would just be concerned that she probably is well handicapped, but in a lesser event, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think Kim and Grace for me, that'll do.
Yeah, 5 to 1 though, still a fair price, even if she's heading the market. It just goes to show how open and competitive that race is to back up that win from last time out. So Daryl, back to you please for anything from anywhere else.
Oh God, yeah. Hold on.
Always.
How long have you got?
in the 130 at Cheltenham, St. Palais rated 148 fences into a novice hurdle. I think he'll take all the beating in that particular race. In the 230 at Doncaster, Wandering Rocks really caught the eye, steaming home. Surely back at Doncaster, a bit cut in the ground, going to see him go well. In the 425 at Cheltenham, I like Life in the Park. Jumped slightly right, but this horse has got a massive engine. I think this horse could rate quite highly among the novices this season. Life in the Park. 4:15 at Newbury, Caradoc was a massive eye catcher in the Cambridgeshire. I mean, you say that about Caradoc every time he runs, I guess, but this was really eye catching. I mean, he was stopped in his run inside the final half furlong and then had to go again, and he picked up a second time. Surely there's a bloody win in this horse. Surely.
Yeah, I like it a lot, but the one I like the most is St. Palais. I didn't expect to see him quite out this early in the season, but I did an anti-post right up there throughout the races. They asked me to do 5 big races then for the rest of the year, horse to follow for it. I wrote St. Palais for the Albert Bartlett because I heard that they were going to try and take advantage of his novice status over hurdles. Now he's being seen out early and everyone's going to see it and he's going to win, and I'll be unoriginal then. But yeah, totally agree with you there, Daryl, about St. Palais and a few of those other selections too. Andrew, anything from anywhere else, please?
Cheltenham bumper, the 5 o'clock. I like Mamoon Star for Fergal O'Brien.
Yes.
Runner-up on debut at Huntingdon, behind an all-the-way winner of Archie Watson's. Some of the beaten horses who were ridden patiently in that race came out and won since, including one at 66-1, I think. Went to Cheltenham next time, ran up against stablemate and favourite Poetic Music. And yeah, sounds cynical, but I think Mamoon Star was ridden very much to the future that day and didn't want to get too close to the stablemate. And Conor Brace just held on to him for ages and ages and ages. Soon it was obvious Poetic Music was going to win. He then went and grabbed third at 16-1. He then went to Newbury, again, outpaced, sort of stayed on towards the end. Bit disappointing on the face of it, but I thought, having gone well fresh in the past, and maybe this is going to be his season, I think. And interesting that they're running him in another bumper rather than going over hurdles with him. So yeah, Mamoon Star, wide round the outside, hopefully is the place to be, because that's the route they'll take, no doubt.
Yeah, I think he's a big size of a horse as well, if I remember rightly too. So maybe just giving him that more time to strengthen into his frame than as a 4-year-old. Now, Andrew, back to you, please, for your nap.
Good question.
Again, surprise.
Yeah, I'll go Count D'Orsay and take a chance on that stall 2 draw being okay.
Okay, nice price nap again then for Andrew after his nap went in last week. Daryl, your nap, please.
It's hard not to say the Hollow Ginge.
For who, sorry?
The Hollow Ginge.
Oh, the Hollow Ginge, yes, perfect.
Yeah.
Sorry, I crackled up a second there. Yep, the Hollow Ginge at Cheltenham again, and still looks a very fair price in that contest. And I thank you for not taking Pied Piper, because I'm going to go Pied Piper in the 240 at Cheltenham. So that is everything from us today. A big thank you to the lads yet again for all of their hard work. So much covered today. Thank you so much for watching. Do remember to gamble responsibly, as always. That is definitely our message this week, and best of luck with your selections this weekend.